You are not allowed in this lounge. I have every right to be here.
Ma'am, please calm down.
This is my ticket. I have lounge access.
I am sorry, but your name is not on the list.
The hiss of the espresso machine was the only sound that dared to break the sterile quiet of the first-class lounge. Leather seats gleamed, suits whispered past, and behind the marble counter, a flight attendant straightened her blazer when the woman approached, calm, composed, and unmistakably confident. Dr. Maya Ellison placed her boarding pass on the counter. The attendant didn't glance at it. This lounge is for premium travelers only. I am a premium traveler. Maya's voice was low. Even the attendant's smile didn't reach her eyes. Ma'am, this area isn't for, she hesitated, gaze flicking to Maya's skin like it explained everything. Maya didn't move. Around her, silence sharpened. A businessman nearby shifted uncomfortably, pretending to read. I designed this lounge, Maya said finally, words clipped like glass breaking. The attendant blinked. Excuse me, Ellison Design Group. You've seen the logo, probably when you walked in. A flicker of recognition, then panic flashed across the attendant's face. But before she could speak, a manager appeared, smiling too brightly, too late. Cameras caught the tremor in his hand as passengers began filming. Maya turned away, her reflection fractured in the polished glass wall, the same wall she'd chosen for transparency and dignity. Her phone buzzed. A news alert, airline accused of racial profiling. Then another ping. Ellison Corp's stock under review amid allegations. Her throat tightened. The lounge lights suddenly felt colder. The attendant's voice faltered behind her. Ma'am, please. Maya's phone rang again. She answered, and froze. The voice on the line was her board chair. Maya, they're saying you assaulted staff. Security footage. Find a lawyer. The call ended. The lights flickered, and the cameras kept rolling. The morning air carried that antiseptic chill. Only airports have recycled air, perfume, and quiet judgment. Dr. Maya Ellison adjusted her blazer, thumbed through her boarding pass, and approached the counter marked first-class lounge, invitation only. The attendant, blonde hair, neat bun, smile rehearsed, looked up. Good morning. May I see your pass? Maya handed it over. Ellison, Flight 472 to Geneva. A pause. The attendant's eyes skimmed the name, then flicked upward, expression tightening almost imperceptibly. I'm sorry, ma'am, but this lounge is restricted to premium travelers. I am one, Maya said. The attendant's tone softened, but not kindly. Perhaps there's another lounge there isn't. Maya's voice stayed even. I helped design this one. The woman's smile faltered. Oh, you work with the airport, with Ellison Design Group. Maya tapped her ID. That's my company. The attendant blinked, laughed nervously. Of course, but we have to verify. You didn't verify anyone before me. Maya's gaze swept across the room, white businessmen sipping latte, scrolling on tablets, not one being questioned. The attendant stiffened. Please lower your voice. Maya's jaw tightened. Lower my... A manager appeared, drawn by tension like static. Is there a problem? The attendant straightened, pointing subtly at Maya. She's trying to enter without proper clearance. I have clearance. Maya slid the boarding pass forward again. First class, Terminal A7, seat 2A. The manager checked, smiled thinly. Ma'am, if you could step aside, a man behind Maya muttered. Some people always make a scene. The words struck harder than they should have. Maya's hands trembled, not from fear, but from restraint. Years of learning when not to respond. Step aside, for what? She asked quietly. For verification. The manager said. A phone camera lifted, then another. Whispered speculation rippled through the lounge. Maya stood still. You're denying access because I'm black. Gasps. The manager raised his palms. Ma'am, that's not. Then let me in. He hesitated. That second of silence said everything. The attendant tried to smile. Ma'am, please don't make this difficult. Maya exhaled. I made this place possible. The camera phones caught her reflection in the glass. A woman who built empires of light and steel, now trapped outside her own design. Security arrived, drawn by rumor. Is there a disturbance? The manager gestured. Escalation. Maya's chest tightened. You're calling security on your architect. The guard didn't answer. The camera lenses tilted closer. Dr. Ellison, the manager said softly, if you could calm down. Her voice broke just slightly. Calm down, right? A flash went off. Someone whispered, that's her, the architect. Then the guard stepped forward. And the world froze, just before humiliation. turned to history. The first clip hit the internet before Maya even boarded her flight. 27 seconds long, blurry, tilted, a woman's voice off-screen saying, "She's playing the race card." By the time the plane landed in Geneva, her name was trending. Hashtag airport incident, hashtag aggressive passenger, hashtag entitled architect. She scrolled through headlines on her phone, each one worse than the last. Airport confrontation raises questions of civility. CEO involved in lounge altercation. Not one mentioned racism. Not one mentioned Ellison Design Group. At customs, cameras waited, flashbulbs flared. She walked through without expression, eyes fixed ahead. Her assistant, Talia, met her at the car. "Dr. Ellison, don't," Maya said. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "Not here." They drove in silence, city lights flickering through tinted glass. The phone buzzed, non-stop messages, board members, journalists. Maya ignored them all until one name appeared. Daniel Graves, board chair. She answered. "Maya," he said, voice calm and public. "We're monitoring the situation." "I'm sure you are. The airline claims you were uncooperative." "Uncooperative," she repeated, staring at her reflection in the car window. "For existing in first class, Maya, I was denied entry to my own design." He sighed. "The optics aren't good. We'll need to issue a statement." "I already did." "Or, in truth," a pause, "that's not strategy. It's humanity." He hesitated. "PR will draft something for you. Just don't post on your own." She hung up. Outside, Geneva glimmered with indifference. Glass towers, perfect symmetry, people rushing past screens. Maya felt the same coldness she'd designed into airports, order as armor. Talia finally spoke. "It's all over social media. They're calling you violent." "I didn't touch anyone." "They say you yelled." I said, "Let me in." They reached the hotel, paparazzi clustered by the entrance. Talia shielded her as they hurried inside. In the suite, Maya locked the door and collapsed onto the edge of the bed. Screens glowed across the room, each headline a different distortion. On the TV, a news anchor's tone was clinical. The woman, identified as Dr. Maya Ellison, allegedly became aggressive when denied access to the premium lounge. A clip played, edited, muted, stripped of context. Maya's face looked cold, defiant. No sound, just her lips moving, her eyes sharp. "Pause it," she said. Talia obeyed. Maya pointed at the background. "There, that's the wall I designed. See the light paneling? That's transparency glass. I chose it so people could see inside, no separation." Her voice trembled. "I built that to stop this exact thing from happening." Talia looked at her carefully. "Then we show them that." "No, they won't see what's inconvenient." The phone rang again. Board conference incoming. Maya didn't answer. She poured water, her hand shaking. Talia hesitated. "Should I tell PR you're resting? Tell them I'm remembering." "Remembering what?" "What it's like to be powerless in a space you've built." The line between rage and grief blurred. Morning came with rain and strategy emails from corporate communications. "Dr. Ellison, please avoid direct media engagement. We recommend acknowledging the misunderstanding and affirming commitment to professional conduct." She typed her reply slowly. "I will not apologize for existing in a space I created." Talia watched her hit send. "They're not going to like that." "They don't have to." The phone buzzed again, a journalist from the Post. "Dr. Ellison, can we get your side?" "You already have it," Maya said. He laughed awkwardly. "Could you clarify whether you raised your voice? Would it matter if I did?" "I just ask why I had to." She hung up by afternoon. Daniel Graves summoned her to a virtual board meeting. 8 squares on a glowing screen, polished faces, polite tension. "Maya," Daniel began, "this has spiraled. We need a containment strategy." "Containment of what?" "Racism. Of narrative. The brand's value is dropping. Investors are nervous." Another board member, Catherine Holt, chimed in. "We understand how emotional this must be, but right now, your visibility hurts the company." "My visibility built this company," Maya said. Silence. Daniel leaned forward. "We're asking you to step back temporarily for optics." "Optics," Maya repeated. "You mean for comfort." Catherine's voice softened. "Weaponized empathy. You're too close to this. Let PR handle it." "I am PR," Maya said coldly. "Public reality, not relations." Daniel's expression hardened. "Then perhaps it's best you reconsider your role." The words hit like a quiet gunshot. Maya stared at the faces before her. Colleagues she'd mentored, investors she'd impressed, allies who now looked away. No one defended her. Talia, watching from the doorway, whispered, "They're pushing you out." Maya didn't respond. She simply ended the call. The silence that followed was heavier than any headline. That night, she stood by the hotel window, city lights glinting off the rain-slick glass. Her reflection stared back, tired, brilliant, human. Behind her, the TV replayed the incident again, the attendant's voice, now familiar. "Ma'am, please don't make this difficult," Maya whispered to the glass. "I made it possible." Her phone buzzed with one final notification before midnight. Breaking airline employee receives legal support amid false racism claims. Maya closed her eyes. "They're not afraid of lies," she murmured. "They're afraid of truth." Talia approached quietly. "Then we make truth louder." Maya turned toward her. "No, we make it undeniable." Outside, thunder cracked over Geneva. The storm had only just begun. The boardroom smelled of glass, coffee, and cowardice. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the skyline like an accusation, the city glittering, untouchable, indifferent. Dr. Maya Ellison took her seat at the long mahogany table, flanked by silent colleagues. The room was too quiet. Even the air seemed to know what was coming. Daniel Graves stood at the head, smile controlled. "Maya, thank you for flying back so promptly." "I didn't have a choice," she said. "Your message sounded like an ultimatum." He chuckled, the kind of laugh that signaled superiority. "No ultimatums, just a discussion." Her eyes moved down the table. 12 people, 12 expressions of curated neutrality. Most avoided her gaze. A few looked apologetic, none brave. Catherine Holt cleared her throat. "We've all reviewed the footage and the subsequent fallout. The company's been inundated with press inquiries, I'm aware, and legal notices from the airline." Daniel nodded. "They're alleging defamation, claiming you made false statements about discrimination." Maya's pulse quickened. "False? They have employees willing to testify that you were confrontational." She leaned forward. "So existing while black is confrontation now." The silence was thick enough to taste. Daniel sighed. "Maya, we're trying to protect the company by sacrificing its founder, by preserving its reputation." Her hands tightened around the armrest. "I am the reputation." Catherine spoke gently. "You've done extraordinary work, but we must think long-term. Investors are unsettled. They're asking if you're the right face for our global image. The right color, you mean?" Catherine flinched. "No one said that." "They don't have to," Maya said softly. "It's written all over your silence." Daniel folded his hands. "We're suggesting, temporarily, you take a step back. Let the public storm settle." "Step back from what? From leadership, from visibility." "And who leads in my place?" Daniel hesitated. "We've spoken with Evan Reed. He's willing to act as interim CEO." The words cut like a blade she'd seen coming but couldn't dodge. Evan, 34, charming, white, and eager. The same man she'd hired 2 years ago out of grad school. Maya exhaled. Of course, the golden boy. Evan shifted uncomfortably. "This isn't personal, Maya. It's just about optics." "I know." She smiled without warmth. "They always say that before betrayal." Daniel interjected quickly. "This isn't betrayal. It's transition." "Transition into what?" "Erasure." His tone hardened. "Careful, Maya." She looked him dead in the eye. "Or what? You'll fire me from my own company." The tension crackled like electricity. Daniel didn't answer. That silence was the answer. After the meeting adjourned, the board members scattered quickly. Eye contact avoided. Loyalty folded neatly away. Only Catherine lingered. "Maya, I didn't want it to happen this way." "You voted yes." "I had to." "You didn't." Catherine's voice trembled. "You don't understand the pressure. Investors, I understand perfectly. You protect what you fear losing, not what's right." Catherine swallowed. "If you keep fighting this, they'll destroy your legacy." Maya's voice dropped to a whisper. "Then they'll learn, I build things that don't break." Catherine's composure cracked. "Maya, please." Maya turned away. "Go polish your conscience." In her office, she stood before the glass wall overlooking the city. Her name, Ellison Design Group, was etched across the opposite tower, silver against stone. Talia entered quietly. "You're out, aren't you?" Maya didn't answer. "They can't do that," Talia said. "You founded this." "They just did." Talia clenched her fists. "You should go public. Tell the world they pushed you out because of racism." Maya shook her head. "They'll spin it. They always do. A black woman angry is a trope, not a truth." "So what now?" "Now," Maya said, "we watch what they do next." By evening, the press release was live. Ellison Design Group announces leadership transition. Dr. Maya, listen, to take sabbatical amid ongoing investigations. Sabbatical, the corporate euphemism for exile. Maya read it twice, eyes burning. A statement from Daniel Graves followed. Dr. Ellison remains a valued member of the design community. We thank her for her leadership and look forward to her continued contributions. It was surgical, polite, lethal, untruthful. Talia slammed her laptop shut. They just erased you. No, Maya said softly. They immortalized me. Everyone knows who designed the lounge. They're just pretending to forget. Then make them remember. Not yet. Talia frowned. You're planning something. Maya turned toward the city again. They've built their house on lies. I just need to pull the right beam. That night, her phone buzzed an unknown number. A voice said, Dr. L. I work for the airline's PR firm. You should know something. What? They're coordinating with your board. There's an internal email thread. They're trying to shift liability. You'll be their scapegoat. Maya's pulse slowed. Can you prove it? I can get you the emails. Why, tell me. A pause. Because I watched that video. I know what I saw. The line went dead. Maya stared out into the dark. Her reflection framed against the skyline. A silhouette of defiance. Talia entered, concerned. Who was that? Someone who finally saw what they weren't supposed to. Her expression hardened. They think they cut me out, she said. They just gave me the freedom to fight. Outside, lightning split the clouds. Brief, bright, inevitable. Maya whispered to the window. You wanted me invisible. Now you'll watch me burn. Maya's office keycard stopped working on a Tuesday. No warning. No email. Just the cold blink of a red light against glass. She stood there for a moment, watching the reflection of her own disbelief in the polished surface. The same glass she'd chosen when she designed the building. Clarity as a principle. Now it sealed her out. Talia arrived minutes later, breathless. They locked you out. Apparently, transparency has limits, Maya said flatly. Security guards approached, polite, mechanical. Dr. Ellison, Mr. Graves requested you collect personal items only. No files, no devices. Maya didn't argue. She simply stepped aside, letting them escort her through the lobby like an intruder. Employees stared, pretending not to. Some whispered. None spoke. At her desk, she gathered the essentials. A framed photo of her late mother, her sketch pad, a flash drive. The rest, years of designs, notes, letters, she left untouched. On the way out, a voice called softly, Dr. Ellison. It was Marjorie from accounting, eyes wide with guilt. They're saying you threatened the board. That's why they removed access. Maya stared at her. Do you believe that? Marjorie hesitated. Don't know what to believe anymore. Then start with the truth, Maya said. You were there. You saw the meeting. Did I threaten anyone? Marjorie looked down. I saw fear, but not yours. That evening, Maya and Talia sat in a rented co-working space downtown. A concrete box with humming fluorescent lights. Talia spread printouts across the table. I've been digging. The airline's PR firm, the same one handling their crisis, also consults for Ellison Design. Maya frowned. That's a conflict of interest. More like a conspiracy, Talia said. They're sharing internal updates, trying to make sure the blame stays squarely on you. She pushed a page forward. Confidential Joint Crisis Strategy document. Maya read aloud. Objective: minimize racial framing. Recontextualize confrontation as behavioral dispute. Her jaw tightened. Recontextualize, she repeated. That's their word for rewriting reality. There's more. Talia flipped to another page. They're preparing a joint statement that you fabricated the discrimination claim to deflect accountability. They'll leak it through anonymous sources. Maya leaned back, staring at the ceiling. They're turning my existence into damage control. Talia's voice was low. You can fight back. With what? I might have something. Talia slid over a flash drive. Internal lounge documents, blueprints, invoices, your signatures on every page. Maya examined it, her name embossed in blue ink across a digital scan. They can't erase that. Not unless they bury it under noise. Later that night, a journalist texted Maya from a private number. Maya, it's Jonah from the Herald. Off record. The airline's building a case that you initiated the confrontation. Want to comment? She replied. Not yet. Can I meet you? Tomorrow. No, Camus that when she met Jonah in a quiet cafe the next morning. His recorder stayed in his pocket. I've seen the unedited footage, he said. It shows the attendant hesitating before you even speak. So she recognized me. He nodded. Probably. But the airline's claiming it's about policy, not race. They always say that, Maya murmured. Jonah leaned in. You should know. Someone on your board is feeding them information. Meeting notes, call logs. She didn't react outwardly. Inside, a cold certainty solidified. Daniel, can't confirm, Jonah said carefully. But he's quoted in a leaked memo calling this a necessary distancing process. Distancing, Maya repeated, voice bitter. Like I'm a contagion. Jonah hesitated. If you go public with proof, those blueprints, the PR collusion, I can make it front page. Not yet, she said again. I need it airtight. Back in the co-working space, Maya and Talia began piecing together their counterattack. Talia clicked through files, emails between the PR firm and the airline execs. Look at this, they literally wrote. Ensure lounge access optics remain racially neutral. Maya read silently, then said, they knew what they were doing. They just didn't want to name it. Talia looked up. You could sue them right now. I will, Maya said. But first, they'll have to watch their lie unravel in public. They worked through the night organizing screenshots, recording testimony from employees, labeling files. Every click was an act of reclamation. By dawn, Maya leaned back, exhausted but steady. We'll leak this on our terms. Talia frowned. Won't that risk defamation claims? Truth can't defame, Maya said. Only exposed. Hours later, the airline issued a new statement. The company regrets that a misunderstanding has been mischaracterized as discrimination. We respect Dr. Ellison's accomplishments but deny any wrongdoing. It was the perfect non-apology, polished, evasive, lethal. Daniel Graves' personal statement followed. As a company, we reject divisive narratives. Leadership requires accountability, not victimhood. Talia slammed her laptop. They just called you a liar. Maya's response was calm, surgical. Then we give them evidence. She uploaded one file, Ellison_design_contract_final.pdf, to a trusted journalist with the caption, receipts. Literally, within an hour, the internet caught fire again. Screenshots spread, the signed documents, the lounge's concept sketches bearing her name, hashtags flipped, hashtag she built it, hashtag Ellison truth, hash designed by Maya. For the first time in days, the tide shifted. Maya didn't smile. They'll retaliate, she said. And they did. By evening, the airline leaked a heavily edited clip, her voice raised, frame frozen mid-motion, captioned, aggressive CEO meltdown. The public split down the middle. Some defended her. Others demanded her resignation. Sponsors paused deals. Talia stared at her in panic. They're going nuclear. Maya's tone stayed calm. Good. Desperation means they're losing control. The night stretched long, punctuated by news alerts and flashing notifications. Outside, city lights blurred into streaks through rain. Talia finally whispered, "Does it ever stop?" Maya answered, voice quiet but absolute. "Not until they run out of lies." The morning the leak went public, Maya woke to a storm of messages, not from friends or allies, but from strangers. Half of them were shouting thank you, the other half were shouting liar. The evidence she'd released, the contracts, the architectural blueprints, her signature had gone viral overnight. Hashtag she built it, hit 1 million mentions before dawn. Talia stood by the window, scrolling. You broke the internet. Maya poured coffee with trembling hands. No, I reminded it that the truth still exists. Across the TV, talk shows were dissecting her story like an autopsy. One anchor leaned forward, practiced concern on her face. So the question isn't whether Dr. Ellison designed the lounge, it's whether she overreacted. Overreacted. The word landed like a slap. They still won't say racism, Talia muttered. They're allergic to it. Racism is bad for ratings, Maya replied. Controversy sells better. Her phone buzzed again. Jonah from the Herald. They're panicking. Expect retaliation. The airline's internal chat logs are being scrubbed, Maya texted back. Then we hit publish before they rewrite history. By noon, the airline launched its counterattack. A new clip flooded social feeds. 15 seconds of Maya mid-sentence, eyes wide, voice raised. You're denying access because I'm black. Cut abruptly before context. The caption read, aggressive CEO accuses innocent staff. Within minutes, trolls filled her inbox. Race card, entitled millionaire. You people always play victim. Talia slammed her laptop shut. They're weaponizing your voice. They always have. Maya said quietly. Only difference now is everyone can hear it. But they're twisting it. Then we twist back harder. That evening, Jonah called. I've got something. The airline's HR rep leaked an internal memo. What does it say? It confirms a pattern. 5 prior discrimination complaints in the same lounge. All dismissed. Maya froze. 5 buried. Settled off-record NDAs. Send it to me. I already did. She opened the file. Each complaint echoed the same phrases. Treated differently. Questioned credentials. Told to calm down. Talia leaned over her shoulder. They built this system on silence. Maya's voice hardened. Then silence is what we'll destroy. Later that night, she appeared on a live stream. No PR, no spin, no studio makeup, just her and the camera. Her tone was measured. I built that lounge to create transparency. But transparency only matters if we see everything, including the truth about how Black professionals are treated when they succeed. Comments flooded in hearts, fire emojis, hate, applause. I didn't raise my voice because I was angry, Maya continued. I raised it because I was invisible. And invisibility is the most violent form of erasure. Talia watched from behind the camera, breath held. Maya ended simply. This isn't about a lounge. It's about who's allowed inside. She clicked end broadcast. Silence filled the room, but not emptiness. Power. The next morning. News anchors replayed her live stream on loop. Pundits debated her tone. Some called her eloquent. Others said defensive. But the conversation had changed. Maya Ellison was no longer a viral meltdown. She was a symbol. Inconvenient, undeniable. Talia burst in, holding her phone. Dr. Ellison, it's working. People are demanding an investigation. The airline's stock is plummeting. Maya didn't smile. They'll find a way to blame me for that too. They can't. The documents are everywhere. Maya took a breath. Then now, they'll come for me personally. She was right. That afternoon, anonymous emails flooded journalists' inboxes. Insider sources claim Ellison mistreated staff. Headlines followed. Tyrant or trailblazer. Ex-employees speak out. Jonah texted again. This smear is coordinated. The same IPs as the PR firm. Talia looked up, pale. They're dragging your name through mud. Maya nodded slowly. That means they're afraid. Afraid of what? Of proof they can't erase. That night, she received a call from an unknown number. Dr. Ellison, a low male voice said, You don't know me. I worked on the airline's security team. They're hiding footage. The full video, uncut. Her heart thudded. Do you have it? I do, but if they trace it to me, I'm finished. I'll protect you, Maya said. Send it anonymously. Minutes later, the file arrived. A 2-minute clip showing everything. The attendant hesitating, whispering to the manager, glancing nervously before refusing Maya entry. No aggression, just quiet humiliation captured from multiple angles. Maya exhaled shakily. This is it, Talia whispered. This ends them. Maya corrected her. This reveals them. By dawn, the uncut footage hit the internet, uploaded anonymously but authenticated within hours. Every outlet that had mocked her now replayed the full video. The narrative inverted overnight. Anchors used words they'd avoided: racial bias, profiling, systemic discrimination. The airline's PR team released another statement, one that began with, We deeply regret. It wasn't enough. Protests formed outside their headquarters. The attendant was placed on administrative leave. The CEO issued a hollow apology. Talia sat beside Maya, tears in her eyes. You did it. Maya shook her head. We exposed it. Justice isn't finished. It's just finally visible. She stared at the screen, the paused frame of her face, mid-sentence, calm, dignified, human. They wanted me to disappear, she said softly. Now they'll have to see me everywhere. Outside, the city buzzed with headlines, arguments, reckonings. Inside, Maya felt something colder, not victory, but cost. Her company's contracts were still suspended, her board still silent, her name, both weapon and wound. She whispered, They'll come for everything next. Talia asked, Then what do we do? Maya answered, Steady. We build something they can't destroy. The truth in daylight. The subpoena arrived in a white envelope, thick as gilt, delivered by hand. No warning. Maya tore it open, her pulse steady but low. You are hereby summoned to appear for deposition regarding defamatory conduct against Aurora Air. Defamatory. The word reeked of corporate rot, the weaponization of silence through law. Talia paced behind her. They're suing you. After everything. Maya nodded. They're trying to bury me under process. They can't erase the footage, so they'll drain my time. Jonah's text came seconds later. They're playing hardball. Stay calm. Their own house is cracking. Maya texted back. Then let's make the cracks visible. The deposition was held in a glass-walled conference room downtown. Frosted glass, cold light, expensive coffee no one drank. Across the table sat Aurora Air's attorneys, 4 men in suits, so polished they reflected the overhead fluorescence. The lead attorney leaned forward, smile precise. Dr. Ellison, he began, voice smooth as bleach, could you confirm that you publicly accused our employee of racial discrimination? Maya's tone was even. I confirmed what occurred. He clicked his pen. And yet you admit you raised your voice. I raised my humanity. It's often mistaken for aggression. A faint smirk. Your humanity isn't on trial, Dr. Ellison. Your statements are. Those statements were facts. Facts, he repeated, according to your perception. Talia, seated behind her as legal support, whispered under her breath. Classic trap. Maya leaned forward slightly. Perception built the lounge you profit from. You might want to respect it. The attorney's smile faltered. Ours blurred into verbal combat. Every answer twisted. Every pause turned into implication. The goal wasn't truth. It was fatigued by the third hour. Maya's jaw ached from restraint. Her lawyer's eyes warned, don't snap. When the session ended, she walked out into rain that felt almost deliberate. Talia caught up. You handled it like a weapon, Maya replied. Weapons break, principles don't. But her voice shook. That night, alone, she stared at her reflection in the hotel mirror. Her phone buzzed with a flood of messages, some supportive, others cruel. The algorithms didn't care. They blended hope and hate into the same addictive scroll. She clicked a link someone sent, an op-ed, titled, When Victims Become Vultures. Her photo filled the screen, cropped mid-expression, eyes sharp, lips pressed, a stranger's version of her. She didn't cry. She didn't rage. She simply whispered to her reflection. They want the sound of breaking. The breaking came 2 days later. Not hers, but theirs. Jonah called. You sitting down? I'm always sitting these days, she replied. The leak's deeper than we thought. I've got internal recordings, HR meetings, executives discussing your case. What do they say? He hesitated. They admit bias training was a PR stunt. One exec said, and I'm quoting, we'll deal with the optics once she stops trending. Maya closed her eyes. Get me the files. You sure? If you release this, it's nuclear. They declared war first. By midnight, the audio hit the web. Let's not turn this into another racial optics disaster. She's angry because she's emotional. They always are. The voices were unmistakable. Aurora's vice president, 2 board members, public outrage detonated. News outlets that once doubted her scrambled for interviews, hashtags multiplied. Investors demanded accountability. Talia gripped Maya's shoulders, trembling. They can't survive this. Maya stared at the screen, voice low. No system collapses without crushing something on the way down. The next morning, her inbox exploded again, this time with offers, documentaries, speaking engagements, brand deals. Every voice that ignored her now wanted her story. Jonah called. You're trending in 20 countries. You could build your own network out of this. Maya's silence stretched. Dr. Ellison, you hearing me? I didn't start this to be a symbol, she said. I started it to end the lie. But this is your chance to prove what that pain sells. Jonah sighed. You deserve to own the narrative. I already do. By refusing to perform it. That night, she received another email, this one, unsigned. Subject, from the attendant. The body read, I'm sorry. They told me I'd lose my job if I let you in. I didn't know you built it. Please don't destroy me with them. Maya stared at the words until they blurred. Talia asked, what are you going to do? Nothing, Maya said. She's not the architect of this system. She's just its reflection. Hours later, a live broadcast began on every major news network. Aurora Air's CEO, gray suit, steel jaw. He faced the cameras. We acknowledge grave misconduct. Effective immediately. I am resigning. Reporters shouted questions. The feed cut. Maya watched. Expression unreadable. Talia whispered, that's justice. Maya replied, that's consequence. Justice doesn't leave people ruined. It rebuilds what they destroyed. After midnight, she stood by the window, city lights flickering across glass. The rain had stopped. Her reflection looked back, worn but unbroken. They tried to silence me, she murmured. They taught me how to be louder without raising my voice, Talia asked softly. Are you done fighting now? Maya shook her head. I'm just done fighting them. The next war is rebuilding trust. And that one lasts longer. Outside, somewhere in the city, a billboard flashed her image beside the words she built it. Maya turned away from it. Symbols fade. Structures remain. She whispered to herself. Now we build something no one can lock us out of. 3 months later, the headlines had moved on. The protests quieted. The trending hashtags decayed under newer scandals, but Maya Ellison didn't disappear. She rebuilt. The office she once occupied in Aurora's shadow was now the headquarters of a new venture, Lumen Gate, a consulting firm designed to audit corporate spaces for racial equity and accessibility. Every client signed a transparency clause. Every audit was public. Talia scrolled through their client list, eyes wide. Government agencies, banks, even a university. Maya nodded, scanning a blueprint. Everyone wants absolution. I'm offering accountability instead. You think they'll stay once they realize what that means? If they don't, Maya replied, then they never wanted to change. The building itself was symbolic, glass walls, no executive offices, no barriers between floors. Maya refused to occupy a corner office. She sat among her staff, reachable, visible, still. Some days, the ghosts returned, the emails, the depositions, the woman at the lounge, whose name she still didn't know. She thought about reaching out again, then stopped. Some apologies weren't meant to be exchanged, only understood. Jonah visited one afternoon, camera crew in tow. We're filming the follow-up docuseries, he said. She built it, went global. People want to see what came next. Maya raised an eyebrow. Another story about a system falling apart. No, a story about what happens when someone refuses to. He adjusted his mic. Just tell us what this new chapter means to you. She looked straight into the lens. It's not about revenge. It's about repair. Justice isn't victory. It's the discipline of rebuilding what power destroyed. Jonah smiled faintly. That'll be the opening quote. Don't make it sound noble, she said. Make it sound necessary. That night, she drove past the airport, the one that held her humiliation and her awakening. The lounge's logo still glowed in white gold letters. She parked, walked through the terminal. Security guards watched her, recognizing her face from old news segments. No one stopped her. At the lounge entrance, the new staff member, young, nervous, smiled. Good evening, Dr. Ellison. Welcome back. The door opened automatically. She stepped inside. The lighting was the same, soft amber. The air faintly smelled of coffee and glass cleaner. But something was different. Behind the bar, a framed plaque read, designed by Dr. Maya Ellison, 2016. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, quietly, to no one in particular, about time. Talia met her there, having trailed behind. How does it feel? Maya looked around the lounge she'd once been barred from, like walking into a wound that finally closed. They're going to think you forgave them. I didn't, she said. I just stopped bleeding for them. They sat near the window, watching planes lift off streaks of light in the fog. Talia broke the silence. Do you ever miss anonymity? No, Maya said. I missed the illusion that silence kept me safe. That afternoon, an unexpected visitor arrived. The lounge attendant. She stood at the threshold of Maya's office, nervous, hands clasped. Maya dismissed her assistant and gestured to a chair. The woman's voice shook. I didn't think you'd see me. I didn't think you'd come, Maya replied. I needed to. They used me. I let them. I thought I was protecting my job. Maya studied her exhaustion, guilt, youth. You were protecting survival. That's what they count on. Tears welled. How do you live with what they did to you? By refusing to become them. The woman nodded slowly. I quit the airline. I'm working with an advocacy group now, for employees who face what I did to you. Maya's gaze softened. Then you're already repairing it. The woman exhaled shakily. I just wanted to thank you for not destroying me. Maya said nothing for a long time. Then, we both survived the same structure. That's enough. The woman left quietly. Later that evening, Jonah sent the final cut of his documentary. The closing shot showed Maya walking through her new office, employees collaborating, data dashboards glowing with audit results. Transparency turned into architecture. A voiceover Jonah's narrated. She built it once. They locked her out. She built again. And this time, she left the door open. Maya watched in silence. Talia asked, You okay? Maya closed her laptop. I'm done being a headline. The work matters more. As night fell, she stood by the window again. The skyline shimmered, familiar, but changed. Her phone buzzed with a notification. Aurora, air files for bankruptcy. Reorganization. Maya set it down without reaction. Justice wasn't loud. It was quiet persistence, the kind that made old systems crumble from their own weight. She whispered to herself, almost prayer-like, let them rebuild better this time. The city lights reflected in the glass-like constellations. Behind her, the hum of her new company pulsed. Keyboards, voices, purpose. No applause, no triumph. Just endurance. The story didn't end with revenge. It ended with design. The reconstruction of a world where she no longer needed to fight for entry. And as dawn began to rise beyond the skyline, Dr. Maya Ellison returned to her work building futures no one could deny her access to again. The next morning, the final corporate hearing against Aurora Air convened. Maya attended remotely, watching from her office as the new interim CEO read the board's confession aloud. Systemic negligence in enforcing anti-discrimination policies, failure to address documented racial bias, public commitment to reform. Maya muted the stream halfway through. The words didn't move her. Change didn't live in statements, it lived in structures. She turned to her staff. We're adding a new program. Free consultations for small Black-owned businesses, structural design, legal literacy, equity audits, real empowerment, not headlines. Her team nodded. Talia grinned. From protest to practice. Exactly, Maya said. You can't dismantle a system by shouting at it. You have to outbuild it. 6 months later, Maya Ellison's name had become both legend and lesson. In corporate seminars, she was cited as the case study in structural bias. In protest circles, she was called proof that exposure works. And in private boardrooms, she was whispered about the woman who made empires flinch. But behind the legacy, the cost lingered. Her mornings began earlier now. No makeup, no cameras, no meetings with PR handlers. Just her kitchen, black coffee, and silence thick enough to measure. Emails from universities offering honorary degrees went unanswered. So did the think tanks and committees asking her to share insights on resilience. Resilience had become a brand, she thought, and like every brand, someone would find a way to sell it. Talia arrived with folders and exhaustion. You haven't looked at these press requests. I don't intend to, Maya said without looking up. They're offering platforms, not pity. Platforms collapse under the same weight. Performance. Talia sighed. You could reach millions, Maya. I already did, she said. Now I want to reach systems. At noon, she walked through the construction site of her latest project, the Lumen Center, an educational and entrepreneurial hub designed for underrepresented founders. It would stand on the old Aurora Air office grounds, purchased quietly through a shell nonprofit. Steel beams rose into the gray sky. Workers called greetings. She nodded, hard hat tilted low. Jonah met her there, camera in hand. No documentary this time, he said. Just footage for the archives. Maya smiled faintly. History doesn't need me to narrate it. It needs your face, he said. You're proof this place exists because someone refused to vanish. She looked at the skeletal structure before them. Proof isn't what matters. Continuity does. That evening, she returned to her office and found a letter, handwritten, postmarked weeks ago. No name. Just a short note. You don't know me. I saw what they did to you, and I quit my job at Aurora before I became them. I'm teaching my daughter your name. Thank you for not disappearing. Maya folded the letter slowly, pressing it flat like something sacred. For a moment, the ache in her chest eased, not healed, but softened. When night fell, she joined a virtual panel reluctantly, not about the scandal, but about reconstruction ethics. Most attendees didn't know her history. They saw only the title on her screen. Dr. M. Ellison, Lumengate, founder. Halfway through, a young architect spoke up. I was taught that neutrality keeps design objective, he said. But you talk about design as activism. Isn't that dangerous? Maya leaned toward the mic. Neutrality is the privilege of those unaffected by injustice. The rest of us are already in danger. We just decided to build anyway. The panel fell silent. Someone whispered, that line's going to live forever. Maya didn't flinch. Then let it live in action, not quotes. Weeks passed. The Lumen Center neared completion. Donations poured in. The press called it a monument to transformation. Maya refused to attend the opening ceremony. Talia protested, "You can't skip your own inauguration." Maya's reply was quiet, "It's not mine. It belongs to those coming next." Opening day. The building gleamed under sunlight, all glass and motion. Open atriums filled with students, founders, community workers. The mayor cut the ribbon. Cameras flashed. Maya stood in the crowd's back row, unannounced, face half hidden beneath sunglasses. She watched as a group of young interns entered the lobby. One of them stopped, staring up at a dedication plaque near the entrance, in honor of those who built light in places designed to exclude them. The student turned to her friend. "You think she ever comes here?" Maya smiled faintly. "Sometimes," she murmured under her breath. Later that afternoon, she walked the upper level alone. The air smelled of new paint and possibility. Through the glass walls, she could see the old Aurora headquarters next door, empty, hollowed out, awaiting demolition. Talia joined her quietly. "It's poetic, isn't it? Their walls falling while yours rise." Maya shook her head. "Poetry doesn't rebuild equity. Policy does. Practice does." "Dill," Talia said softly. "It's something to see." Maya nodded. "It's something to remember." That night, a journalist called, begging for a quote for the 6-month anniversary of Aurora's collapse. Maya declined. The journalist persisted. "People want closure." Maya replied. "Closure is a luxury history doesn't afford." Months later, the Lumen Report was published, a public database tracking diversity accountability across 500 corporations. Within a week, 3 major airlines, including Aurora's rebranded successor, failed their audits. The headlines screamed, stocks fell. Legislators debated oversight. Maya watched quietly from her office as her staff celebrated. Talia turned to her. "We did it." Maya's expression didn't shift. "We started it near midnight." She walked home on foot, wind, cold and clean. Passing through the same terminal corridor where everything began, she paused by a public display, a digital mural showing innovators of color. Her own face appeared briefly between 2 pioneers she admired. She stood there a moment, then turned away before the next image replaced hers. Her story wasn't the point anymore. The system was. The next morning, her inbox filled with messages from new founders, young, determined, asking not for advice, but blueprints. Maya smiled. "Finally," she whispered, "they're not looking for permission." Outside, dawn spread across the city, refracting against glass buildings that reflected everything: light, sky, and the people who'd once been invisible beneath both. In that brightness, Maya saw not her legacy, but her cost: sleepless nights, lost allies, the quiet erosion of privacy, yet none of it outweighed the reconstruction she'd forced into being. She whispered into the empty office. "Daylight has a price, but it's worth paying." Then she sat down at her desk, opened a new file, and began drafting the next phase of policy, one that would outlast even her name. No fanfare, no spotlight, just structure, because the truest justice, Maya had learned, isn't dramatic, it's architectural. The airport was quieter than she remembered. No cameras, no protesters, no whispers, just the steady, rhythmic sound of departure engines sighing, footsteps echoing, announcements repeating like prayer. Maya Ellison rolled her suitcase through the terminal, her first flight in nearly 2 years. She moved unnoticed this time, just another traveler among thousands. But as she approached the security checkpoint, the irony hit her. The same corridors that once humiliated her now bore plaques quoting her. She didn't slow down to read them. Recognition wasn't freedom. At the lounge entrance, a young attendant smiled brightly. "Dr. Ellison Wright, you're on the lifetime access list." Maya almost laughed. "I prefer the main concourse." The attendant looked surprised. "But the lounge, it's beautiful. You designed it." "I designed it for inclusion," Maya said softly. "I'll honor that by not separating myself." She turned away before the attendant could respond. Her gate was half empty. She sat near the window, laptop open, reviewing audit drafts for Lumengate Africa, her organization's first international expansion. Talia had begged her to take a break. "You've earned rest," she'd said. But rest, Maya thought, was a luxury built on someone else's labor. Jonah's last text blinked on her phone. "When do you start writing your book?" Her reply still sat unsent. "When I know how to end it." A man 2 seats over recognized her. "Excuse me," he said awkwardly. "You're the woman from Iowa." Maya cut in. Polite but firm. He nodded, embarrassed. "Right, well, you changed things. My company did one of your audits. We didn't score well. That means you started telling the truth, she said. He smiled weakly. Yeah, we're trying. Maya looked back at the window. Trying is where change pretends to rest. Keep going. The man nodded, then fell silent. When the boarding call echoed, she waited until the last group, old habit. The luxury of boarding early felt too close to the exclusivity she'd once fought against. Inside the plane, a flight attendant greeted her with a professional smile. Welcome aboard, Dr. Ellison. Maya's eyes flicked up. The name tag read C. Watkins. She froze. The attendant saw the recognition and swallowed. You remember me. It was her, the original attendant, the one who had denied her entry 2 years ago. For a heartbeat, time collapsed. The same air, the same uniforms, the same faint scent of coffee and ozone. Watkins whispered. I transferred airlines. I've been following your work. I didn't think you'd ever. Maya's voice was calm. Life is circular. It brings us back to test what we've learned. Watkins nodded, trembling slightly. I wanted to say, I'm sorry. I know it doesn't fix anything. It doesn't, Maya said, but it matters. Watkins blinked back tears. They trained us differently now. I wish I'd been brave enough before. Bravery, Maya said, isn't what you do when it's safe. It's what you do when you still have something to lose. Watkins nodded, voice cracking. Thank you. Maya simply replied, do your job well. That's apology enough. Then she took her seat. As the plane ascended, city lights shrank below, a glittering map of everything she had dismantled and rebuilt. The captain's voice hummed through the cabin. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now at cruising altitude. Maya leaned back, eyes closing. For once, her mind wasn't drafting, defending, or designing. It was observing, through the thin hum of engines. She thought of her mother, a teacher who once told her, if they closed the door, build a house without them. It took her years to understand that her mother hadn't meant revenge, she meant permanence. Hours later, turbulence jolted the cabin. Passengers stiffened. Maya kept her eyes closed. Control, she knew, was always an illusion. Watkins' voice over the intercom. Just a brief patch of rough air. Folks, nothing to worry about. Her tone was steady, confident. Human. Maya smiled faintly. Growth wasn't always visible. Sometimes it was simply hearing a voice that once shook now steady the world. Mid-flight, Jonah's email came through. Subject, the symposium invitation. He wrote, they want you to keynote the Global Equity Summit. Full circle. You and... She stared at the message for a long time, then typed, only if we're not celebrating progress, only if we're interrogating it. She hit send when the plane landed. Dawn glowed on the horizon. Passengers stirred awake, stretching, collecting belongings. Watkins stood by the door, offering farewells. When Maya reached her, the attendant whispered, safe travels, Dr. Ellison. Maya paused, met her eyes. You too, keep building. And she stepped out into daylight. Outside, journalists waited, not for her, but for another public figure disembarking nearby. She passed unnoticed. She preferred it that way. At the curb, Talia's car pulled up. You really took economy again. Same seat as everyone else, Maya said, loading her bag into the trunk. Talia smiled. The Lumen Center's expansion was approved. You'll be in 5 countries by next year. Maya looked toward the horizon. Then we're not done. Will we ever be? Hopefully not. They drove through the waking city. Billboards, buses, screens flashing images of progress. But for once, Maya didn't feel burdened by the symbols. The fight had shifted, the structure was changing, and she'd built enough scaffolding for others to continue the construction. As the car merged onto the highway, she thought of one line from the hearing months ago, her own voice replaying. Justice isn't victory, it's the discipline of rebuilding what power destroyed. It echoed now not as defiance, but as truth fulfilled. The world would keep trying to rebuild and collapse, again and again, but someone, somewhere, would always remember that access wasn't a privilege, it was a foundation. And Maya Ellison, somewhere between flight and arrival, smiled at the thought that she might never land completely, because her work had already taken off without her. Rain tapped softly against the wide glass walls of the Lumen Institute for Structural Equity. The building, all pale stone and filtered lights, sat where the old executive terminal once stood, the same terminal where Maya Ellison had been denied entry. Now, it bore her name, discreetly engraved on a silver plaque, the Ellison Wing. She didn't attend the unveiling. The committee had begged her to. The press wanted photos. She had declined all of it. Instead, she watched from a distance from the mezzanine balcony. Unseen, as the ceremony unfolded below, cameras flashed. Executives she'd once confronted stood in immaculate suits, rehearsed remorse in their smiles. Speeches rose about transformation and corporate enlightenment. She murmured to herself, they finally learned to pronounce accountability. Down below, Jonah stood at the podium. He'd filled out over the years, confidence, replacing the quiet hesitation that used to haunt him. Dr. Ellison once told me, he said into the mic, that equity isn't a destination, it's maintenance. It's repair work that never ends. Applause swelled. Maya watched his voice tremble slightly on the last line. He was quoting from one of her internal memos, one that was never meant for public use. That detail hit her harder than the applause. Someone had read her words closely enough to preserve them. Later, when the hall emptied, she walked the corridors alone. Her steps echoed softly against marble. Everything here was glass, open, transparent, by design. The irony was deliberate. She paused by a wall-sized display screen cycling through short clips, the viral video, the hearings, the reforms, then footage of the construction, the protests, the rebuilding. At the end, a photo appeared, her mother, holding a young Maya in front of their small brick house, captioned beneath, every structure begins with the hands that were told they didn't belong. Her throat tightened. Talia appeared behind her, holding 2 cups of coffee. They're calling this the architecture of memory, she said. Every beam and window is meant to remind people what exclusion costs. Memory is dangerous when it makes people feel noble, Maya said. It should make them uncomfortable. Talia smirked. Then you'll be happy to know the board hates the design. Too confrontational, apparently. That means it's working. They sipped coffee in silence, watching visitors wander through the new space, workers, students, policy staff. The kind of people who once had to fight for access. Talia broke the silence. You're leaving again, aren't you? Maya didn't answer immediately. Her gaze followed a young woman photographing the memorial plaque, mouthing the engraved words like a vow. Finally, Maya said, there's a city in Ghana inviting Lumen to consult on transport infrastructure. They want to rebuild the system without inherited bias. I'll start there. Talia shook her head, half exasperated, half proud. You never stop. Maya smiled faintly. I stop when the system does. Outside, the rain had eased mist. Workers dismantled the event tents, folding up banners with her name printed too large. She walked across the courtyard to the garden, a simple stretch of grass with benches and a sculpture shaped like an open door. Visitors passed through it, pausing to take pictures. Most didn't realize the measurements of that doorway were identical to the restricted lounge entry that had started everything. Maya stood before it for a long time, letting the symmetry settle. Then she whispered, you took the door. I built the house. Inside, in the main hall, Watkins, the former attendant, stood near a group of trainees in crisp uniforms. Maya approached quietly. Watkins noticed her and straightened. Dr. Ellison, I didn't think you'd come down. I didn't plan to, Maya said, but I wanted to see who's running the training program. Watkins smiled. We use your modules, biased interruptions and customer gatekeeping. It's changed everything. I wish I could tell you how many times it's saved someone from humiliation. Maya studied her. You already did. By staying. Watkins nodded, emotion flickering in her eyes. We're still learning. Then you're doing it right. They shook hands, a gesture once denied, now freely given. By afternoon, the building emptied, the lights dimmed to evening mode, the glass walls reflecting the city's slow pulse of traffic. Maya sat on one of the benches in the atrium, notebook open. She wasn't drafting legislation or audit language this time. She was writing a letter to herself, addressed 10 years back. You won't believe what one no can build. You'll be hated, dissected, and worshipped in cycles. None of it will matter. What matters is that the people who come after you won't have to prove they belong where you stood. She closed the notebook, slid it into her bag. As she exited, a janitor mopping the floor paused and nodded respectfully. Evening, Dr. Ellison. Maya nodded back. Evening. He hesitated. My daughter's in your mentorship program. She says she wants to be an architect like you. Maya's voice softened. Tell her not to build pretty things. Build true things. He smiled. She will. Outside, the air smelled of rain and new asphalt. Across the street, construction cranes blinked red in the twilight. More buildings rising. More systems reimagined. Maya walked to the edge of the lot and looked back once. The Ellison wing glowed behind her, all light and glass, transparent, even in darkness. She whispered to the city, stay open. Then she turned. pulled her coat tight, and disappeared into the flow of commuters, just another traveler again. But somewhere, in the architecture of the rebuilt world, her imprint remained, not as a monument, but as a structural integrity test. The system would bend again someday. But now it had learned what breaking costs, and somewhere between justice and fatigue, between resistance and peace, Maya Ellison finally understood. She hadn't just reclaimed access, she had redefined the foundation itself.